already having fun. Hey, Julian. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Zara Durrani. Welcome back to another exciting and inspiring episode of On Location with Zara, produced with the support of TELUS STORYHIVE. Currently, we're here in Vancouver in Railtown at Christine Morton's Christine Atelier. Beautiful store. You must come and have a visit. I want to take every piece home. Joining me today is someone who I would like to call a dear friend. I've had a lot of dear friends on the show, and you must be like, is she only bringing her friends on the show? But you know what? I feel so blessed to know so many amazing humans who are doing great work, who are changing our communities, whether it is through their philanthropic work, whether it is as an entertainer, as a performer. You know, they're making many people smile. She's an actress. You may be familiar with her work, whether it is on shows like Rookie Blue, Legends of Tomorrow. Most recently, I was watching her on Family Law. I was binge watching that show. I literally, no joke, I watched several seasons within a few nights.
Wow.
You know, like honestly, I really got into this show because I like that it's filmed in Vancouver and they're not trying to be any other city. And it's really funny and it's great to see people you know on it. She has a podcast called The Juicy Life, and she's had some amazing guests on her podcast. And she's also a somatic life therapist, somatic coach.
I won't claim to be a therapist.
Somatic coach. She is a lover of life, she's an artist, and she's an amazing human and a dear friend, and I'm so excited to finally get her on the show. We've been talking about this for some time now. I love her laugh. She has a laugh you can hear from like a block away, kind of like me. And I'm talking about none other than Aliyah O'Brien. And the funny thing is, as I do this introduction, we've done some like Instagram lives and YouTube videos and some interesting conversations and chats. If for those of the individuals who've been following Aliyah's career over the years, literally our conversation in your bathtub.
The best.
We literally filmed this video. I was interviewing Aliyah in a bathtub. No joke. It happened. And it was so fun. And literally to this day, the comment section and everything is just lit.
I went on your YouTube like earlier today, and there's like 11,000 people that have watched that bathtub interview. Isn't that amazing?
Oh my god.
11,000!
That's crazy.
This is crazy. I can't even remember what we talked about, but like, I would like to have more interviews in the bath.
Yeah, no,
Definitely.
I think that would be great. I think we'll have to do a redo of that just so we can have. That's the next thing. This is happening. This is happening for real.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Yes.
And we had so much fun filming. We were silly. We were goofy. We just had so much fun. And you know, I remember you were working on the show Rookie Blue.
Yeah.
It was a great show. Aliyah had a big following on the show, and it's like, your fans were like following me and asking me questions. What does Aliyah like? What is she doing? What's she like in person? Is she like this? Is she like that? Are you gonna do another interview? I think we did a few of the bathtub series from what I recall.
Okay. Yeah.
But the first time that I interviewed you was on my show Life and Style with Zara.
Mm-hmm.
And we did this episode on beauty. And you know, and we actually used a bit of what you said in my little reel for the show Life and Style with Zara, in which you talk about, because I asked you as a performer, as someone who's in front of the camera, you know, what does beauty mean to you? And I remember, I'm not sure if you remember what you quite said.
I don't remember.
And you mentioned about working on a center sense of self. You know, and those words, I was like, wow, she's speaking my language. I remember I just finished my yoga teacher training, and you just seem to have this, you know, connection to, you know, of course you're gorgeous, you're booking all this work, you're a working actress, but you were connected to a deeper sense of self, just like you said, and doing that work. So we're gonna dig deep into all of that. It's an hour plus long conversation.
Ooh.
So we got time to dig
into it.
Yeah. So with everyone who comes on the show, I like to start from the beginning.
Okay.
did you always know you were going to be in front of the cameras? You wanted to perform, you wanted to act. How did you end up into this work?
Okay, well, first, before I get into that, I really just want to acknowledge, because you said so many nice things about me. I just want to say, I love this woman, and you're a friend. You are an incredible, multi-hyphenate, multi-talented, incredible human, and you've been doing so many beautiful things over the years, and I'm honored to be sitting next to you right now having this conversation.
Stop.
And I love you very much.
I love you.
So I'll start there.
You know, I forgot to add your travel journeys through your social media. I was like, when you were in the van, there's something
Yes.
freeing about seeing that. To be honest, Aliyah, when you were posting that stuff, I was like, oh man, I would so love to do something like this. Like it's something I've desired to do, but the fact that you just kind of took off like on your own.
Yeah.
From what I recall.
Yeah. I'm often on my own.
Yeah, and it just feels so freeing. You know, I just love. What made you do that? I know I asked you the other question.
Okay, we'll get back to the other question.
Yeah.
So my whole, I think, mission in this lifetime is really to live my most liberated life and inspire other people to do the same. So I love when I hear people are inspired, and it happens a lot when I post about my camper van or just traveling to Colombia by myself and these things. But I always want to be peeling back the layers of you shouldn't, you have to, to live the life that lights me up. Like I really want to always be endeavoring to give myself permission and to give others permission to live a life that lights them up. And for me, part of that is adventuring and being on the road and being open to meeting people and having experiences, being in nature. There's a certain freedom and aliveness that I experience when I do that. And so that's one of my highest values for sure.
I feel you on that so much.
Yeah.
Like for me, that was like moving to Paris and, you know, packing up my bags, selling everything. And I remember I was in Paris when I found out that you could have, I just turned 35, I just lost my mom, and I found out about this working holiday visa as a young Canadian that you could get. And they had just extended the age limit to 35. Before it used to be 30. I just turned 35.
Wow, what a synchronistic moment.
Dude, I knew that was the defining moment in my life. Like I was at a crossroads, that either I can stay in my comfort zone. And you know, when I'm not sure if you've lost someone, or I'm sure you've lost in other ways, there's something that happens when a close family member, especially your parental figure, passes away, and she was my only parent, and where you start questioning everything. Like, what am I doing? What path am I on? What is my purpose, like you were saying? And it sets you on this quest to be like, who am I? Minus the ideas of what society and culture tells me that I should be at this age, especially as a woman. Especially as a woman.
Yes.
And then, you know, add the layers, like woman of color, immigrant, you know, add all the layers to that story. And, you know, and I just wanted to figure out who I was, minus the friends, minus the place that I've lived in. And I remember the day after I signed off and booked everything, I sort of had a panic attack. I'm like,
usually that happens.
I'm like, why can't I just be content? I have a beautiful apartment. I live in Vancouver. I live in Hilton. I'm like, why can't you just be satisfied? But there was an inner calling that was like, I need to know. Like, just go for a couple of months, see what happens, and it turned into 2 years. So we'll go back into your travels. So much to talk about. We're not excited at all.
Life is full. It's a very full life. There's lots we could go down, many paths.
But I want to touch on all aspects of your life and your career.
Okay.
So we are going to talk about acting. We're going to come back to traveling, and then I want to talk about the coaching work, because that sounds something you're really passionate about. And a podcast, and that, you know, it's like, I feel like you're living a juicy life. You know,
that's the MO. That's why the podcast is called This Juicy Life. And because I'm obsessed with living my best, juiciest life and helping others do the same. Why else are we here? Really? I think like we get caught up in, like you said, these like ideas, these narratives of like, this is how you should live. There's a script to follow. This is how you belong. This is how you have friends and a partner and a purpose. Like, let's talk about purpose. I mean, purpose is, I think this notion that we all have a purpose and that it's related to our job is crap, quite honestly, because I think if your purpose is joy and you are following what lights you up, you will find the jobs and the things. It shifts. Acting was a job that I did that felt on purpose for a long time, still is, but now there's other tangents and places that I'm putting my energy that light me up. Does that mean that like I've fallen off my purpose because I have more? No. Like, does that mean I can only have one purpose? Purpose is joy. And if I think if we're living through that channel, then everything we're doing is on purpose, because joy is the fuel, is the motivator, the instigator. So yeah, so if you're a person out there who's like, what's my purpose? Don't worry about it. Just follow your joy and what lights you up. It's actually that simple. It doesn't need to be so like, need to find, like we're so stuck on career is like the main thing we focus on in life. That's why when like a person we lose a person, we suddenly go, oh, my people are so important. I need to like reach out to the people I love more. And we wait until these tragic moments happen to wake up and really realize what's important to us. Otherwise, we're just sort of tunnel vision down this, like, gotta build my career, gotta hustle, gotta, make something of myself. But I think like life is so much more than that.
And and when you fast forward to, especially when you have seen someone towards their end, the accolades, I mean, it's great. It's nice to have the experiences. But I think when you've had that freedom or the more discovery or the process, and also touching more hearts, had more of those meaningful connections or touched someone, and something that hasn't gone on social media, something that hasn't been advertised or been on a record, which is great, right? Like, that's great to have that, because sometimes we need that to be able to do the purpose or the mission and whatnot. Yet if we can get to the heart more, which sounds like the path that you're on, it's like you're like, I will do my career and I want to do this journey and I want to help other people while I'm growing and learning. I mean, that's truly amazing, because when I was taking a look through your social media, I'm like, oh, she's there and she's there, and I'm like, that's really cool. She seems to be there for a while, and she kind of seems to not really care if she's like acting or not. She's just like living her life. And I was like, there's a freedom in that, because you're not allowing society to dictate what that looks like, right? And both you and I know, I think we're around the same age.
42.
41, I'll be 42 in summer.
Okay, we're close.
So it's like I was on set yesterday and I said to someone, I was just sharing openly, I mentioned my age and they're like, oh my God. And then I was like, yeah, I have a dog and a cat. I can't wait to go home to them. They're like, why do you have a dog and a cat? You should just have a child. And I'm like, well, they are my children. They're my children. I call them my babies. I know this.
It's so funny to me, just the notion of somebody deciding what you should have. Like.
So this is what I'm saying, right? Like, I mean, you don't know that perhaps that person cannot, or they chose not to, or they haven't been in the right situation, but how society, how it thinks for women. And especially it was a man saying that, and I was about to go down and I was like, just disengage, you don't even need to school him, But I feel like, I feel like, in overall, in general, it's this idea of what does it mean that a woman in her 30s and 40s and what her life should look like, So that's a conversation we can get into. But back to your career. back to your career. So I'm sure we've had this conversation before, but refresh my memory and our audience.
So where did it start? Acting. Where did it start? I mean, it started in my parents' basement, putting on theater show. No, I mean, sort of. I always loved performing for a very tiny audience of a few people that I knew, because I was so shy as a kid. And then I went through school and I did like musical theater in high school, and that was really fun. And also felt, scary but safe. And I never anticipated that I would like make acting a job. So I went on to graduate high school, traveled a bunch, because that's, yeah.
Do you ever hear you look like Eva Mendes?
Oh, maybe once or twice, but
Like
that's a
today,
rare.
no,
Today
like,
I'm at,
just very subtle. But
I will take it.
yes,
Yeah.
it's very, very subtle, but I think because your hair is lighter than before.
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. I like that little like side whatever we call that.
Spicy.
Yeah. Into that. Anyways, to make my career situation shorter, I basically was in school for kinesiology. I used to be a personal trainer. I used to love fitness. I was like one of those like obsessive weirdos that was like in the gym for hours every day doing weird stuff like doing squats with barbells, standing on one of those Swiss balls, you know, like crazy sort of Cirque du Soleil type stuff. And then my friend Dave Shan, bless him, asked me to do this acting class for fun, and I was like, yeah, sounds great. So we did this class, and it was in like a community center in like a weird little basement, I think, and the teacher was like really good, and she gave us these really intense scenes, and I just felt so alive. It was like I got to live all these emotions and like play this character, and I loved it. And there was her director friend came to our little final performance night, and she was from Toronto. I just remember that. I don't remember anyone's names. I just remember her having a conversation with me after our little final performance, which I invited no one to because I was like, nobody is seeing me doing this. But she came up to me and she said, you know, if you love this, you should consider doing it as a profession. And I was like, no, that's crazy. But it planted a seed, and I continued to.
And you would be like 20-something?
I was like mid-20s at this point. Like it was almost mid-20s. So it's kind of later in life, which I appreciate because I'd done a lot of stuff before finding acting and getting obsessed with that. But yeah, she planted a seed, and then I found a really amazing human named David Simmons who had a place called the Screen Actor Studio in Victoria, and just started taking classes until it was like that moment in the movie where it's like, okay, if I'm gonna like give this a go, I gotta move to the big city of Vancouver.
Yay!
Grew up in Victoria. Moved to the big city of Vancouver, and like, you know, never look back kind of thing. And that's what it's been. I haven't not looked back. There's never been a moment where I'm like, you know, what's the backup plan, or should I be doing something else because I can't be doing this. I've always been on that trajectory. Granted, I've added 17 other things that I'm passionate about to the list. So I, you know, have the podcast, I coach now, I write, there's a lot of things that I care about, but I'm still acting, and I still plan to act till probably the day I die. But
I'm sure they add to the color, the rainbow spectrum.
It's all connected.
You know, it's like, I feel, I believe it was Mark Brandon, he wrote like a little book many years ago that someone brought to my attention, and he kind of laughs whenever I mention it, but I remember, because he doesn't teach anymore, and one of the things in the book was, you know, if you want to act, go live your life.
Yeah.
You know, don't just like make it like you're obsessive just about this world.
Yeah.
And you know, you have to have life experiences. You can't just be focused on that. And it sounds like you're working more than ever. And like,
I don't know about that.
Yeah, no, I know about that because I'm like, I know this girl. And every time I'm texting, I'm on set, I'm doing this, I turn on this television, I'm like, oh, there's Aliyah.
No, I mean, I would love to actually.
I go to the audition room, there's Aliyah, and I'm like, listen, I'm filming, I want to bring you on my show.
I love you. I'd actually love to say to the actors that are watching, like, I am working, but there are long periods of, like, we like to call it the magic dark, where you're like just working on you, working on your craft, working on whatever else you're doing, and that's normal. And it's like, you know, I feel like there's this notion that in this business we need to be seen as always working and always busy, and like it's not true. And it's okay to not be working. It's okay to like be unemployed. It's normal. And I feel like as a, you know, somewhat more veteran actor, I want to say that to any actor that's watching. If you're not working, that's normal. It's part of the journey, and there's long periods I go without working. And
I feel like I need to hear that. Like,
everyone needs to hear it.
Like, literally, I switched agents like last year, and with Play Now, who
Yeah.
used to be right next door, but they've changed locations, and it's like I'm getting everything coached. I'm like really working on stuff, and then I heard I was like pinned for something because the creator of the show told me, but they were like, you kind of look too young because
Oh, that's the other thing.
because they're like are not, but it was written as like 41,
Mhm.
and then they're like, well, like our lead who's supposed to be 25 is 35, but and then they're like, in order for you to look like her aunt, and anyways, whatever. And a couple of weeks ago, I was literally sick. I put something on tape. As it's uploading, I get an email from my agents because I was asking for extension, and they were like, they've already made their selects. I literally bawled my eyes out. I mean, because I was already sick, and I'm like texting my friends, and I'm just going through the thing, and I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, but then you have to remember, you're like, I am passionate about it, and one day something's gonna happen.
Yes, well, there's a phrase that has helped me tremendously through my career.
Please do tell.
Yes, it's this. What's for you will not go by you. So really, I believe like the roles you're meant to have stick, and the ones that aren't, move on. And we don't know why. Like we can look back in hindsight and be like, oh, I wasn't meant to get that because I was meant to do this other thing in my life or whatever. But in the moment, I know it can feel like, the ultimate rejection. I've had so many moments in my career where I've, tested for a series or something and not gotten it and been like, I'll never act again. Like that was it. That was the one opportunity. Like I'm done. And it's like not true. It's just not true. And it's a tough business. It really is. I think it forces you into deeper and deeper trust. And I think part of that journey, I think that we have this people say this all the time, actors say it, non-actors say it, that, oh, you are always facing rejection. And it feels like that. I felt that so many times, but it's not true. It's not rejection. It's like they're casting a show and they're looking for specific pieces of the puzzle. And you're either the right fit for the puzzle or you're not, but it's not because you're not a good actor, you're not a good human. You're like, that's the problem with actors is we
take it so
tie
personally,
our
sense of
self-worth.
self-worth.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think I remember being that sick that day, and I'm like, quite often I'm like, okay, this is an opportunity. Like the other day it was like 5 pages, and it's like, okay, due tomorrow, and I'm like, not swearing on here, but
yes.
and yet I'm like, okay, use this is an opportunity to just do it, have fun. But inside of me, I can sometimes feel like resentment building up, and this and that, and it's like, have fun and have play. So I would like to hear a lot of that from you, like when you're saying that you're chemistry test or screen test or whatever for projects, that because you worked on all these big projects, not just Canadian productions, but like all these American productions and shows with big following. Like how does that, and when you get it versus when you don't get it, like what is your internal process like? How do you feel when you book a job, like like Rookie Blue, Legends of Tomorrow, or even Family Law right now? At least that's what I'm seeing. What I was like. Oh, there's Aliyah. Okay, yes, I need to have Aliyah on my show.
Yeah.
So how is it for you when you have the win, and then when you don't?
What's cool is it's shifted a lot. And when I used to get the win, I would be like on cloud 9, like yes, like so jazzed and like nervous and excited. And it was because it was like underneath the story was, I'm worthy, I'm good enough, I've made it, like I'm okay. Now it's like, sweet, I'll be able to pay my mortgage for the next so many months, and like this is gonna be a fun project, and I'm excited, but I'm not like telling myself a story subconsciously that now I'm worthy. Now I can like relax because people want me. I'm I'm gonna make it, whatever. I've done so much inner work that now I feel a sense of security, because like quite literally I can pay my bills and feel like I can travel and do the things I want to do. But man, it so used to be tied to like my worth as a human, and I'm gonna be transparent, like I'm still unraveling those strings and those layers. They run so deep, but there's few of them now. Like it was before, it was like a whole like knitted, rope, and now there's like strands that I think I'm unwinding, and so.
And I feel like
Yeah.
that's what I see on your social media. You so openly share some of the things, whether it's struggles or moments of gratitude or happiness or whatnot. And I think I really appreciated seeing that over the last couple of years. And I was like, yeah, I really want to sit down with Aliyah or do coffee with her or see her and see what's going on in her life. And now hearing about, you coaching people, and because you've done that work and been on this path, because as I was mentioning earlier, over a decade ago, that was like 2011, when I did Life and Style with Zara, and like I spoke with you, and talking about beauty and the pressures of looking a certain way and age and ageism and like
Oh my gosh, girl! just 2 years ago, I freed myself of disordered eating habits. I was unaware that I still had all these like control strategies around food, all in the name of being thin, because then I'd be worthy and then I'd work more, and then all the subconscious programming that we're often not aware is even running our show. And I believe that when we're ready to liberate ourselves or we're ready to heal something, it shows up, and it showed up for me in a very real way, in a very human way. I was looking at myself in the mirror, putting on a pair of jeans, and they were tighter than they normally were, and I felt like garbage, and I felt like okay, this is not okay. I felt like I wanted to cry, and I immediately, my brain went, okay, tomorrow we're gonna like go on a fast, we're gonna cleanse, we're gonna do something to control this situation. And I caught myself, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're not free in this area. Our okayness is attached still to being a certain size, and if I'm not this size, I can't feel good about myself.
It's so fascinating you say that. Like, right away what comes to my mind is Halle Berry, but like so many actresses who would be like, oh yes, I'm like 50 something and I can still fit into my jeans as when I was 16. Like for me, like I recently went to Paris a couple of months ago and brought my stuff back, and the food is different there. I was walking a lot, but also at times I also was grieving, like the passing of my mom, but also I was in a relationship and then that ended, so grieving that, and my eating was off. I was eating everything, but nothing was sticking, so I was at least a size or two smaller, so the pants from there, like forget the button, the zip weren't going up.
Well,
and right away my brain the same thing. It's like, because we're trained to the shame thing, that it's the number on the jeans, on the whatever you're wearing, the size that would dictate you're beautiful, or you fit in, or you're worthy, or whatever. And for me, most recently, I got into like lifting weights and strength training, because before I was like just yoga and be like looking that kind of like body, versus like something about, and dude, when I started doing that, I cried, and I told my trainer that like I don't even know why. I think like sadness or trauma or whatnot, like, and I was like, it's okay, just like I didn't even know why I was, but I just like let myself cry, and it was at home. But something about my subconscious to say that you are strong, not just physically, but
yeah. Well, as a personal trainer and someone who is became modeling is really what screwed me up with food and a relationship with my body originally, but my relationship with exercise, when I realized the thing around food, I also realized that my relationship with exercise was it was a control strategy to be able to be thin and to feel okay about myself. And if I didn't work out 5 or 6 days a week, I was like not okay. Like I needed, and so I stopped working out. I stopped controlling food. I started just eating what I felt like eating, and intuitive eating, and it was wild to me to see the thoughts that came up and the ways in which I wanted to control so that I could have this idea of a body that I thought I needed. And because I have a big foundation of personal growth work, and I was in the middle of this coaching program, this really beautiful, really intense coaching program at the time, I was able to support myself through this and very quickly, honestly, like shed myself of like I don't even think about food anymore. I just eat what I feel like eating, and I have so much more energy. I feel so much better, and I work out now because it feels good, and I only do stuff that's fun for me, and I love how strong I feel, and I love the endorphins, and I've always loved that. But what I've removed is the fear and the control, and I still. Let's be honest, I'm still working on a loving relationship with my body. Erin Traylor, a woman who I did a program with.
Oh, I know Erin.
You know Erin?
Yeah.
She has a company called the Raw Beauty Talks. And, I did a program with her on food freedom and body acceptance. And she says, don't work on loving your body, work on accepting your body, work on a certain idea of like body normalcy, like just because sometimes it's too far of a stretch to go to like I love my body, but like just I accept my body, and that has shifted so much too, and it's been so liberating. And I just want to say, like, it's just so normal and rampant in our society. Women's value is, we're taught that our value is in our attractiveness and our likability. So what do? We do everything to be attractive. We spend so much money on everything to be attractive. We accommodate and who do you need me to be liked? And so liberating myself from all those ideas and all those patterns and habits over decades has been my mission, and that is now my mission, to help other people do that. Well, I continue to do it for myself, but with the wisdom that I've earned through doing it for myself, be able to help others to liberate themselves, because God, it's so much more fun. It's just such a better life. Like,
so what got you in? I know you've been on this journey, but what got you into want to do coaching?
It's funny. I mean, I did coaching before because I've always wanted to help people. I've always felt like, I remember, I have this, like, one of my first memories as a little girl. I remember watching, it was like one of those infomercials for starving kids in Africa, and their sad little distended bellies, and I remember seeing that and sobbing and going to my like little piggy bank and pulling out, I had a $1 bill, and I remember giving it to my mom and being like, give it to the kids, like I want to help them, and I just know from when I was little till forever, I've always just wanted to help people. And I think I've always wanted to help myself. Like I've known that, like I was so sensitive and so shy, and I just wanted to be free. And so I've been thirsty for how to free myself forever. And as I've accomplished that and like learned how to do that, I just want everybody to have this. And I know, like,
and that's not something that you advertise. Like, do people just come to you because this?
Oh yeah, so coaching, right? You asked me about coaching. Yeah. So coaching specifically. So within the last 2 years, I've always sort of naturally coached people and done some professional coaching, but then never thought of it as like my job. But then 2 years ago, I took a really beautiful, really in-depth coaching program with a company called Coaching Evolved, and it was all somatic, embodiment-based life coaching practices. And what that means, embodiment is really about like being the change you want to see in the world. It's like, how do we take something from a concept to like we are living it? And it involves getting into the body often. And so the practices take you past your conscious mind, which we can know something but not be doing it. Like we know a lot of stuff and we're not doing it,
like
and living
social
it.
media, Google books,
Yes.
the self-help section is full. Like I remember at one point, I think I had like thousands of dollars of like books in my little library that just like sit there.
Yeah, and are you living all of those concepts? Are you like embodying that?
Because you can have the intellectual information versus like, do you believe that?
Totally. Do you walk that walk?
Yeah.
So the practices and the things that I learned in this program really helped shift on a deeper subconscious level, so that you're walking the walk.
So are you doing, because when I hear somatic, like I've done and I continue to do some somatic gentle movement to make space for yourself, or even things such as like tapping where it allows your body where you do it. We've had tapping practitioners like on the show lead us through that, or also TRE, which is trauma release. So do you do some specific movements like that, or you're talking through things? How does that
It's
work?
a whole gestalt of things, and the gestalt method is actually a method that we use in the program, but it's a whole bunch of things. And like you said, there's emotional freedom technique, there's tapping, there's breath work, there's also just straight up life coaching practices that are visualization, can be really powerful to take somebody through a deep visualization, so they're embodying in their visualization the life they want to have, the person they want to be. And then there's ways to anchor it deeper into the body, so that the fun thing for me is that we set these goals, and then we hustle and force ourselves and push to make these goals happen. I'm interested in setting a goal and then figuring out how you will feel when you reach that goal, and then feeling that way now, so that the path to the goal is way more fun and it's way more effective, because you're already, how to embody the feeling that you're going for ultimately at the end of the goal. And then
feeling the feeling even now without having the thing, because I think it's the not obsessing about what you're getting. It's the law Deepak Chopra talks about, and many spiritual, Wayne Dyer, all these detachment.
Yes.
Right? How people say, I'm sure for you, when you're going into even booking some of these jobs where you're just I'm just having fun, I'm just being Aliyah, I'm just here.
It's way better when you're I am going to do this fun thing, and if it happens, great, and if it doesn't, something better will come along. And I'm just enjoying the process. But it does require knowing how to embody that which you want to achieve now.
And releasing the fear, because I think the fear can be and it can be based on so many things, socioeconomic status, race, country of origin. There's so many layers to that, of how you can take on that, how the world views you and what is your place in the world. And releasing the fear, it is certainly, I feel it's a lifelong journey of surrendering and releasing, and things coming up. Of course, part of me wishes me now was me in my 20s, and I could just go back in time and be listen here, just relax a little bit, just breathe a little bit.
Yeah, I know, they always say what would you say to your younger self? But the beautiful thing is that it's important. The journey is important, and it's all, I think, what we start to learn as we get older and as we become more detached, or non-attachment, or not attached, is that there is no such thing as good or bad feelings. There is no such thing as good or bad experiences. It's all life. And if we can look at things with a bit more of an objective lens like that, and appreciate the aliveness and the experiences that we went through, and how they made us who we are, and how they fed us in different ways, then there's less of a I only want this good thing and I can't have that bad experience. And when you're in the crap storm, let's call it.
Nice. I like how the vocabulary.
You see, I am trying here. I am trying. Yeah, the crap storm. When you're in it, I've gotten to the point in my life where when I'm in that tornado, there's always a part of me that's what am I meant to get from this? Why is this happening? How is this happening for me and not to me? Because I know that everything that's happening is for me, is for my highest good. And so I might still not like it, and I might wish that I wasn't in it, but I know on some level that it's part of my story and it's helping me in some way. And so you can build a relationship with those lows, that there's a level of appreciation.
And you can't have the highs without the lows.
You can't have the highs without the lows.
And if you're wanting an existence, at least in my experience, and it sounds like in your experience as well, we have to feel the feelings, because if you're wanting to go away and step away from the bad, or wanting to numb that sensation, then when it comes to the happiness or the bliss or whatever, that's also going to be numbed out. You're also not going to feel, much of that. So we have to like learn to ride the wave. And it's like I've talked on the show often, like last year I was working a lot, like burning the candle at all the ends, that burning the midnight oil or whatever you want to call it.
Hustle.
Yeah, and feeling the pressure. And I think, to be honest, like talking about being an immigrant and a person of color, not having roots in this country, and for me to recognize for the first time in my life and talk about it on camera, because for so long I thought I needed to be like my friends who were born here and had generations of family here, that I had to be just like them. And thanks to BLM, and unfortunately because of everything that happened a couple of years ago, that we were talking in media about what it was like to be a person of color, and then also the fact for people who have not had roots here. And then a lot of tears came for me, because I realized that there was a part of myself that I had quieted, that part that I was so busy trying to assimilate, that not wanting to feel or give myself permission the fact that what, Zara, it is much harder for you than for someone who's born here or for someone who is Caucasian. Because it's just reality for me to pretend that life is I'm grateful that we have more people of color in media and television and everywhere, yet it is still a struggle for us. It's still like Gina Davis Foundation, they did this research last year for people who are MENA, MENA, Middle Eastern, North African, and that's the category I fall under. It is such a small blip in film and television that you can't even see it on the graph. You don't even see it. It's such a small blip, in film. On television, maybe you can see it a little bit more. But I was like, and then we internalize this, right? And then that is the view. So there is, for someone who is Caucasian, it may be a different experience. Of course, there is the lens from as a woman, but then, I had to have some compassion for myself, that there were those layers that I had suppressed and not given myself permission to feel those feelings. So when, it's like, and this year I will be celebrating 10 years sober. So it's like part of my journey was like, hey, I was running away from something, and what was I running from? And like sitting and like feeling the feelings, because our society, media, the commercials tell us I have to look happy as a woman. This is how a woman in a beer commercial or a wine commercial, or like on a the men's magazine or Cosmo or whatever looks like.
Well, and I think it goes deeper to ourselves too, where we tell ourselves like, if I pretend I'm happy, if I stuff all that shit down and just put on a happy face, then I might be happy. And on some level you feel a little bit happier. Thank you. On some level you feel a little bit happier, but
for the time being.
But you it's what brings it back to what we said earlier, where what you pointed out so beautifully is that if you stifle the you don't feel the depths of sadness and sorrow, you also stifle the capacity to feel joy. So your feeling becomes like this. It suppress, and happiness can only be so high. So the more we feel the despair, the pain, all of that, the higher our capacity to feel joy and aliveness and love and happiness. And it's one of the things, like it's the main thing that I teach people, because I think it's the foundation of everything, is being able to be with and hold ourselves and feel all our feelings, because that will liberate you. When you allow the feelings to move through your body, you free yourself to be so much more of you, because you're not spending all this time and energy playing small, shoving stuff down. But it's harder for different reasons for different people, and you've experienced a lot of that because of the narrative that you've tried to stuff yourself into, right? To assimilate.
But also cultural oppression, right?
That,
it's not just me. It's like
the
society tells you that,
totally.
Especially I remember at some point, like before I got into hosting, I would go for all these auditions, and it was always like Bikini Babe #1, Hot Girl #3, or the girl that the guy who's the main character, and he has this, sweet who like, you know, particular looking, you know.
Yeah. So they're saying this is who you are. This is who you are.
This is how someone who looks like you, the box that you know, and then me being like, you know what, I'm not that.
Yeah.
You know, I am not that, and me breaking the mold instead of like, hey, I'm not gonna go with the story that you want to tell about me or people who look like me, versus I'm gonna take matter in my own hands. I'm gonna create my own shows and my own productions, which is how I started my show back in the day.
Yes.
You know, where it was like, I don't really feel like removing my clothes or showing my skin because I'm worth more than that. I'm actually smart and I want to be taken seriously, you know, but I had to like, you know, I can do whatever I want. I can wear whatever I want, right? Without being like, why do you need to see me in a bikini? Like, why? You know, like I love going to the beach and doing all that stuff. But, you know, it's like, why is it constantly that? But it was because you won't even give me a name. It's like the hot girl number 3, you know?
Yeah, and it's the brave ones, the courageous ones like you who are rewriting the story for yourself, you know, and unfortunately there's a larger story that's sort of, you know, been written, and then it takes people going, hang on a second, do I want that to be my story? Do I want to assimilate and fit myself into these check boxes? Or can I color outside the lines? Can I write my own story? And I'm like, I think it's in my bio or all over wherever I speak, because my favorite thing is reminding people that they are the writers, the directors, and the lead actors of their story. And
the main character.
They're the main character, character energy, baby. It requires you asking yourself, what story do I want to write? And then being brave enough to write it and live it. And I think we're not taught to even ask ourselves that question, you know?
So let's talk a bit about your podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. My podcast is so fun.
Yeah, what inspired you? So I guess through coaching, you finished coaching and you were like, hey, I love having these conversations.
I think I started the podcast before coaching, actually.
Okay.
I might have, because it's always been, all these topics have always been a passion of mine. Like I've been a thirsty learner forever. If you look at my astrology, my human design, all of these, you know, ways that you can kind of profile yourself, it's all about me being.
When's your birthday?
May 7th.
Okay, so that's coming up. That makes you Gemini, Taurus? Taurus. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a Taurus, but I have like all of this, my whole chart is filled with leadership in the public eye stuff, and it's all filled with also relationships, which is not surprising to me that I've been coaching so many people on relationships recently, because I'm coming to realize how important relationship is for me, and how it all comes back to the relationship that you have with yourself. And I also I want people to have good, beautiful, healthy, intimate, connected relationships, whether that's friendships, partnerships. I want people having gourmet sex. I don't want any of this like transactional fast food sex. Like I'm so passionate about that. So a lot of what I coach about is about that. But you asked about the podcast. And the podcast,
which is called This Juicy
Life.
I love the name.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. We love it because we ask every guest that comes on the podcast, what are your 3 main key ingredients to living a juicy life? And everybody has a different answer, but they're all so similar. Like they all kind of often come back to the same things. And then what I really love about the podcast is we really endeavor to make things accessible for people. So we're always asking, well, how do you do it? What do you do? Like, how do you live that life so that it's not just conceptual? It's like you can actually do it and embody it and live it. And we get the most beautiful people on, and we have the most beautiful conversations, and we endeavor to have all walks of life.
You had Mark Groves on the show. You know, I met him so many years ago. I was helping out with this event. It was Mark Groves, Connor Beaton, I think Connor's ex, I forget her name, Radical Self-Love, I think is her Instagram, and you know, and Di Manuel, like all these people, and it's almost a decade ago, and it's just so great to see how their careers and journeys have evolved and how they're bringing this message to the world.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it's great to see that how you're like, hey, I'm not just an actor, I'm just a writer, director, you know, I'm getting into this coaching and I have something to say. And, you know, that sort of reminds me a little bit of, I love these guys, this podcast I listen to, speechless, smartless.
Smartless. I know, those guys are amazing.
I know, it's
Yeah.
so silly, you
Yeah.
know, like, but I like how they're just like, or Dax Shepard on his
Mhm.
podcast, and he's like, I don't even care to act anymore. He's like, I just love podcasting because he's like, I have something to say, and I'm
Yes,
using
yes.
my brain, my life experience, and bringing on amazing people
Yeah.
and having conversations for as long as I want.
Totally. Well, the thing about acting is like we are at the mercy of other people's stories unless we're writing the stories ourselves. And one of the things I always loved about acting was the influence that I have, like in telling a story and people being interested in you because of the character you play in that particular story. But podcasting is so much more of a direct way to just spread my message. Like I don't have to, go through these hoops.
And the real Aliyah, like the Aliyah,
Yeah, I get
it's
to be
like
myself.
it's the things that you are the most passionate about.
Yeah, and I get to ask whatever questions I want, and we become, of course, friends with all of our guests because they're amazing, and we just get to have these beautiful conversations. And I mean, I'm biased, but I think that we have something really special, and there are a lot of amazing podcasts out there. But I think what we offer is when we have the guests on, like we'll have experts in a particular field, but we ask them more personally, what is juicy to you, and get them to explain how they live that way and do that. So we might have an expert that's like, let's say, a sex expert, and instead of interviewing them just about their specific topic, we get to know more about them as a person and how they live their life and how what they need to do.
Struggles and
And we always ask that, like, where do you struggle? Because we want to normalize this human experience, and I think
instead
it's
of
helpful.
like this robotic, like
Yeah.
it's interesting. I'm a big fan of Stephen, Diary of a CEO.
Yeah.
And he'll bring in athletes and experts and everything from like mental health to like world-class athletes, and talking about their successes but also their struggles. And I feel like it's in the struggle that we learn from. It's like, for example, when I share about my life experiences, because that is the beauty of it, because perhaps someone watching, because when you're just focusing on the accolades and the beautiful part, which we do share on social media, which is fantastic. When we share, like I've seen on your social media, on your Instagram, of like, hey, this is what I'm going through, or this is something that I'm grateful for, this is what something really moved me. I think that's what connects people, where like, I'm not the only one struggling with this, or I'm not the, and they may not message you now. It may be like 6 months from now or a year from now. And we'll never know whose life will be impacted. As long as our perhaps intention is like, hey, I have this message to say, share. And I think that's what's amazing, is that you're having that content put out there. I love the idea of podcasts, and the fact that you as an actor, as a performer, are bringing these great guests on. So how many episodes have you done so far, and one that really stands out than most?
Oh gosh. Okay, it's so hard. It's really honestly so hard, but I think we've done somewhere over 50 by now.
50.
50, yeah.
Okay. And are you doing them Zoom, in person? How
We're doing them Zoom,
Okay.
because my co-host Lauren, my bestie, she's in Ontario, and usually our guests are
all over the
world. So for now we're doing it over Zoom. We eventually strive to be in different cities and interview people in person, because obviously it's nice.
Or do an event.
We will do events. We plan to do events and retreats and classes and all kinds of things.
I can totally see you being in like Ecuador or Costa Rica, doing something like that.
Yes, definitely. A Juicy Life event. Are you kidding me? Yeah, helping people really expand into like how to live their juiciest life. We want events like that.
And your co-host, is she a coach as well? What is she?
Yes, she's a coach as well. Also former actor.
Okay.
So we have a lot in common in that world, and she's an amazing coach. She coaches a lot of creatives in helping them really step into their confidence and execute their business life, because they're owning their authenticity and their confidence in their business. And so so we both have like these different sort of niches, but we also coach humans on how to like live their best lives. And then we interview people that are doing a bunch of different things, and we also do episodes, we call them mini-sodes, where we're just speaking on a specific topic together so that we can offer our perspective. And
I feel like sometimes that's what I enjoy, sometimes even the most, where it's like just the person sharing, like whether it's something they're going through or something they experienced that week or a realization they had. I will certainly have to check out, but I've certainly checked your guys' social media and Instagram, and you know, when you had Mark Groves, I was like, oh, this would be great. Like I'm certainly a fan, and I love I love the content he puts out, and you know, always questioning, challenging.
I think what we love about him is that not only is he super wise, but he's so authentic, and he's willing to share his own struggles and where you know the questions like to support him and like where he gets stuck. And I think it, like you said before, it's that relatability, that place we can plug in, because if it's all too perfect, it's like, well, I can't be that, that's way up here. But if we normalize and humanize the experience and we share where we struggle and how we move through that, then people are like, oh, I also have that struggle, but I can move through. It gives them hope, and it gives them a path to walk to move through that thing. So I think it's so, I mean, that's why my Instagram is really just me talking about
well, you're gonna have to
all the messiness of life.
Well, I feel like either you're gonna have to promote your coaching on your, and not promote, it's maybe not the right word, but talk about it, because I did not.
I'm in the process of, yes, I know.
did not even know about, you know, I mean, the marketing and the PR thing, like back in the day, I helped Aliyah with some PR stuff.
You did. You were my first publicist. We did tons of stuff.
Yeah, we got you so many interviews when you were working on Rookie Blue. We got you on Twitter and Facebook verified.
Great.
Man, I was on my social media game
back
in the
this is what
day.
I'm talking about. Multi-hyphenate. Yes. I mean, social media is tough because it's like, for me, I have to do it when I'm inspired. I will not be the person that's like, what's the algorithm? What's the trending auto? What's the, you know?
Like, even though, yes, you know, you'll see a lot of like content there, like I will have a week where I'm posting a bit, and then last week maybe once. And, you know, or like some of the sponsored content will be coming out or whatnot. My feed is like that because for me that is also a way that I monetize.
Yes.
And I like to share, you know, parts and bits and pieces and whatnot of my life on there.
Yeah.
But sometimes I have to like take a break, man. Like it's like I was just talking about Vipassana. It was a silent meditation I did after my show Life and Style with Zara ended, and our relationship ended, and I went through this nosedive, you know. And
then you went to a 10-day silent retreat?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. Because I was just lying on my couch, doing nothing, you know, eating on my couch, sleeping on the couch, you know, the good things. And I was like, okay, I think I'm a little stuck right now. And, you know, my yoga teacher, I did my yoga teacher training in Bali. She told me, we watched this documentary for Vipassana, and she's like, whenever you're ready in life. And the seed was planted, and I researched, and it was so healing. And it's like, you know, something is real when they're not getting you to pay for it. You know, and it's just like any 12-step programs, or, you know, it's like Vipassana, pay what you can, or whatever works for you. And, you know, and it was so healing. I went into it, I swear, with like this heaviness. And then you have to put your phone away. You eat vegetarian, vegan, you know, and you meditate for like about 10 hours a day, spaced out. And you're just, at the end, I left feeling so much lighter. Like, I think I went in with like bags of emotional luggage. And then realizing, you know, at the end that I had part to play. You know, not like, okay, this person to blame or It's like, what is my part? And then forgiving them and forgiving yourself. And then finding the healing in that. And it's interesting, I'm sure, like, you know, you've gone through those situations where it's like, you know, especially when you go away somewhere, there's something very healing about like going with this intention, and you're like, I don't know what's gonna happen, and leaving and being like, oh man. But now for me to imagine doing that when my life is so much social media, I'm like, holy, that would be like, that would be
the
amazing.
perfect time to do it. It sounds like
I just need someone to look after my dog and my cat.
Yes, this is true. This is true. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing of it all is that it's 10 days of being with you, like really on a deep inner level, and we don't give ourselves, 20 minutes to really be with ourselves on a daily basis. Usually that's why meditation is so hot right now, because it's like sitting with yourself, being with yourself for a period of time is wildly uncomfortable when you could just pick up your phone and and so there's so much value. And I've never done Vipassana myself, but I have so many friends that have done it and say it's life-changing.
And somehow attracts a lot of film people, because even when I was there were gaffers and directors, and later on I found out, I was like, oh, fascinating. I want to hear a bit about your travels, because we talked about them earlier, and your van life, van life.
Yeah, van life is real. I did van life for the first time last year as like actual van life. Like before, my van was just my getaway, vacations, whatever. I go for periods of time. But last year, I actually lived in my van in the summer for the first time, and it was the best.
And where did you go?
I didn't go too far. I stayed in BC. I did a lot of the islands. I went up Vancouver Island and went up to Denman and Cortez and did Hornby and what's next to Hornby? Hornby and what's the other one over there? I'm blanking now. It's okay. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it'll come to us later.
It'll come to us later. And then did Salt Spring, like all of those islands. Went up. I do Gabriela, yeah. I go up to Squamish, Whistler area a lot. I took up mountain biking during COVID, and so I'll go and do that little route. I don't think I went anywhere else like too far, but just to be able to like hang on islands and like swim in lakes and meet local people and go to little like farmers markets, and I don't know, you always run into friends and make friends. And
I have a question. Where would you shower? Sorry, that's
this is the fun thing about van life. It's like you get so creative. So I had class pass, the like workout thing. So I would often do like a yoga class or a workout or something and then shower.
Okay.
Or there's always places. There's like, when I was mountain biking in Cumberland, there was a rec center right at the base of the mountain bike park, and you just pay to use the showers. So I'd like go and have a shower after. There's like campgrounds where you just go and like sneak in and use their showers. Like honestly, I'm crafty. Like I like showering, so I would always
Sorry, I'm not saying that you don't.
No. I just mean in the sense that like I'm not one of those people who's like, I'll just go a week without showering. No, I like to be clean.
Yeah.
But also sometimes you're just swimming at lakes and rivers and stuff, so you feel pretty clean from that.
And how long did you do that for?
A month? No, I had my van and I lived in it for at least 2 months. It might have been 3 this summer.
Wow.
Because the strike was on. So I didn't need to be here. So that was the big thing.
You could just get away,
And you know what was so great is normally my apartment is in Kitsilano. So normally I'd be like, trying to find a place to park it on the street because it didn't fit in the underground. So I'd find a place to park it on the street and have to like schlep my stuff back and forth to the apartment and like, be, dealing with that rigmarole. When you pack the van full of all of your life and all of the things that you need, you're just free. You go.
Yeah.
And your life is wherever you are because your home is with you. And
did you have like a plan, or you're like, I'm just gonna feel it out and see where I want to go
plan.
next?
I don't like plans.
Yeah.
I only travel intuitively now. For the most part, unless I get invited to something and I feel called to that. But I will wake up in the middle of the night and be like, book a Airbnb in Guatemala, like for this date. Like I have like such a sharp intuition now that I'll feel a pull, and I will go and like I can't tell you how much magic happened this summer in the van, like following my intuition. The friends I made, communities of friends I made, like wild stories that would take too long for me to share here, but just like one thing leading to one thing, leading to one thing, leading to this thing, and it was so beautiful.
It really goes back to you. It's like the beginning of our conversation, which is follow your joy.
Yes, follow your joy, follow your heart. Heart-led living is what it's all about, and then you'll always be on purpose, I think.
I love that. Well, I feel like that's a great space to end this conversation.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I love you so much.
I love you so much. I feel like we've done this so many times, but this is my favorite. This has to be. I do love the bathtub session.
Well, we'll do this again in the bathtub. It's because I think we've grown a lot, and
Yeah.
we are now speaking more from our hearts and
Yeah.
our wisdom that we've earned, and I'm sure we'll do this again in like a decade, and we'll be like, we didn't know anything back then.
Aliyah O'Brien,
I
thank
love
you so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate it. It just brings me so much joy just to see your contagious energy and, you know, to see how you're living fully, you know, and the fact that you mentioned not just the work aspect, but living in life and, you know, following your heart and bringing help, healing to others as you are on this journey. And I think that's really inspiring to me, and I hope to everyone else who's watching.
Thank you for watching, everybody.
I love you so
I
much.
love you so much.
We're gonna be doing this again soon.
Yeah.
You know, I do this thing called Wellness Wednesdays, so you're gonna have to.
I used to do a
on
Wellness Wednesday so
on
long ago.
Instagram Live, so you're gonna have to join.
Yes.
Well, thank you everyone for watching. I really appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, I'm your host, Zara Durrani. This is Aliyah O'Brien.